Thanks for tuning in to the Marvel Movie Minute.
Want to skip those pesky ads and get early access?
Become a member at truestory.fm/join and discover all the other great perks that come with it.
Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a weekly podcast which we assemble to explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 5 minutes at a time, and there is no AI to help us. In this, our 9th season, we are looking at Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I'm Matthew Fox.
And I'm Pete Wright.
Hello, I am Rob Cabasco.
Pete is going to find a way for me and Rob to watch the Terminator movies sometime soon, so I think we might need a refresher course. But today
I'm fine. Everything is fine. Everything is
I wasn't going to
fine.
say anything, but then we had the AI voice. Anyway, we're talking today about minutes 71 through 75, which begins with Black Widow breaking a million hearts when she says she thought she was going straight, which doesn't mean what we hoped for.
Oh.
And it ends with Cap acknowledging that Black Widow has better style, but still doesn't mean what we hoped for. Folks, there's a lot we can jump into. I just want to start with this Rogers and Natasha heart to heart. Was there anything you guys want to jump in with first?
Oh, let's heart to heart. I don't have anything beyond heart to heart that I want to talk about. I'm in prime heart to heart mode.
Right. So what do we think of this like wonderful little moment that we get with Natasha and Steve?
I like so much about it. Right. I just like that. I like the way it's blocked. I like the way he's sitting lower than her eye line, and it allows her to be so deeply vulnerable and not shed a tear and not cut. And it's just, it's really lovely. It's Scarlett Johansson gets to act.
And I also think for the both of them, it continues that theme of, it's not sexual tension, but it's what could have been tension. Like there is that little bit of dynamic of like, I'm not good enough for you, but I wish you were, but actually I am. And here we are.
Yeah.
So,
right. If only you'd been around, 80 years ago kind of a thing.
For me, I think what I really love about this is that it's easy to tell a story like this where one of them is the good character and has to kind of morally redeem the other one or morally corrupt the other one, get them to not be so naive or whatever it is. And I think they're doing a really good job of having it go both ways, because we've already had some moments of Steve being naive and being kind of dumb, and Natasha having to show him like, hey, this is where you're off. And now it's flipped over. And I think the fact that they use that line where she says, I thought I knew whose lies I was telling, but I guess I can't tell anymore. And he says, maybe you're in the wrong business, which is the exact same line that she used when he was being very naive. It's the kind of thing that feels like it should be trite because it's like 20 minutes since we used the line last, but it works so well.
It works so well. And then just, within this same minute, we have the reciprocal corrupting force of him, it's not really my style. And then letting Natasha be the evildoer on the rooftop. I think it's actually what we've seen over the last 15 minutes of the show is I think a really a lovely little tapestry of the dance of their emotional relationship and their professional relationship. And I don't think I appreciated it before we watched it while slowing down, but I don't think I recognized just how well Scarlett and Chris approach this as performers, because these beats really play. They really, really work. And we're about to end this kind of sweet 15-minute run with them and get into something completely different. This is a nice little island right in the middle of the movie.
and I would say another 90s movie reference, regards to Sean Connery, Michelle Pfeiffer, Russia House.
Russia House.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
Great
Although
call.
I would push back a bit on the idea that there's a romantic kind of tension here, because to me, the kind of relationship this is echoing, and I think this is really intentional, is the kind that Steve had with Bucky, and the kind that
that was romantic though, right? Like that's headcanon is
but
that was a romantic relationship, right? Okay, good. I just want to make sure that's locked.
Falcon clearly had with this guy Riley. Like it's the show is really touched on the thing of, I made the gay joke at the start. We don't have to keep going back to it. But
It's okay.
I'm with you on all of them. But still, my point being that like the show has done a lot to talk about the special bond about people who fight together, about people who face danger together and who like do these missions together. And to me, more than anything else, that's what Steve and Natasha are having
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think that's the that in fact is what builds the trio. It's because they step into Sam's kitchen because Sam cooks, and we end up with
I had now, but yeah, okay.
a three-way relationship of people who exist together because of their mutual appreciation of the complexities of their jobs, and that I think was set up really perfectly in this movie, that because everyone gets that arc. Even Sam gets that arc, even though he's not in the movie very much. Although, to point, he's been in the movie more than the Winter Soldier has. We do get that arc of him, experiencing the recovering soldier gestalt, and it plays very, very well. So now that we get their meeting in the kitchen, I think we end up with a perfectly sort of resonant 70s thriller union that allows us to put away the sentimentality and move straight into the why are we all scared again? Let's get moving.
Well, and I just have one question about that because before we even jump into the Sam part, Natasha asked Steve, does he think that she would have saved him? He did kind of a selfless act. He didn't just save himself, he saved her as well. And he says, and so she's kind of wondering, like, do you think that I would have done the same thing to you? And he says, I do now.
Yeah, I would now. And I'm always honest.
I have some questions about that part. But first, just on that first thing, do you think that he means, because I think I can read it two ways. One is, I think that I didn't know you well enough, but now I know that you would have saved me. Or does he mean, I don't think you would have before, but now we've gone through this together. Now I think you're the kind of person who would save me. Is it Steve's opinion that's changed, or is it Steve recognizing that Natasha has changed?
I don't know the answer to that. And I think maybe both of them. Maybe that's why the question is bigger than it sounds, because in fact they have both changed, and that's a really tidy observation in just 2 lines of dialogue to demonstrate that.
Well, also made apparent, I would just add, also made apparent that she doesn't like those feelings, because then she kills it with the next line.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
She does not like that.
I think her next line there is the one about, like, how do you feel knowing that, you...
Yeah, you seem pretty
nothing?
chipper for someone who found out they died for nothing.
What the heck?
Yeah.
I would say
nice.
saving the Earth from the Chitauri counts as something.
Yes.
There's been a little things that's happened since the capsule melted until now, Natasha.
Truth.
You were there. But I think, Rob, you're totally right. The whole point there is she doesn't mean it. She's emotionally deflected because she's being vulnerable in a way that she never, ever wants to.
Now, can we move on to breakfast?
Yes. If you people eat that kind of thing.
Yeah, he goes. So Sam brings people in, and I think this is this may be my favorite bit in this movie, just from a filmmaking perspective, because we get it's one of the most beautiful and I think trusting set of minutes from a screenwriting perspective. Right, we have them all in the kitchen, and we need to learn some things, right? We need to learn that that Sam is who he is, and we're going to do it, and we're going to force the audience to just keep up, right? We're just going to say, we're going to drop the Riley bit. We're going to drop these little nods, the Bakmala and the Khalid Kandil mission, and all of those things are things we don't know about, right? We haven't seen. And we're going to say, this is Riley, and Riley was the guy that may have been mentioned that we may, as an audience, not remember from an hour ago, but we're just going to trust you to pick up what we put down here. And then, would you use a stealth shoot? No, these. They don't even show us these. And then he says, where do we get one of these?
Well, you're also forgetting I thought you were a pilot. I never said I was a pilot.
Right. And then and first of all, dude, Captain America needs my help. There's no better reason to get back in. Is the mission statement at the top of the brief of this movie. That is, and really, it's Sam's entire motivating life goal for the rest of his time so far in Marvel is, dude, Captain America needs my help. There's no better reason to get back in. That is outstanding. And then he says, well, there's one at Fort Meade behind 3 guarded gates and 12-inch steel wall. Shouldn't be a problem, says Steve Rogers. And then they don't show us the scene.
I want to talk about that, but I need to pull you back just 10 seconds because to me, there's an additional relevance to that line of Sam being so excited that Captain America needs his help because it's the capstone. It's the thing that goes against and helps to buttress all of the cynicism of, because as we were talking about before, these three are bonding about the fact that they all want to do good and all have had failures about that. And that all have had problems with that they have PTSD that they're coming back with, that they lost partners, that they did things that they thought were for the right people. And now they're questioning. And to me, that line being part of the same scene of, yes, I don't know if I believe in the agency that I thought I was working for. I don't know if I believe in, I thought I was going straight, but I'm not. Like, what am I doing? But Captain America needs me. That's it's saying we're going to tear down a lot of other stuff, but don't worry, we're still going to give you something to hang on
to stand for, right?
Yeah.
And they do it all without a single line of, as you know, explaining to the audience what is going on, because I guess at this point we weren't looking at our phones when this movie came out, so they could just give us a movie. And I think it's really artfully crafted. And and you wanted to talk about the fact that they don't show us the heist of the wings.
Yeah, what do you guys think of that?
For me, it's an absolute win.
Oh, well, first of all, it saves money. Let's put that aside. Because the
no
reveal is so
Doyleist
great.
interpretation.
Well, I mean, it saves money. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Right.
But also it because the payoff is that much better then.
Some of the best movie moments have come from a completely out of the movie attempt by the actors to save trouble. I think perhaps one of the greatest action movie moments of all time, the guy swirling his sword right before Indiana Jones just shoots him, that only happens because Harrison Ford is hungover and doesn't want to do the scene. And so if it's because of the budget that they did this, I think you're right. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And it sets up the reveal so much better. The only reason it bothers me, and I want to get into this a bit, you all can shout me down if you think, is I feel like the next 2 minutes are totally wasted and are for the exact opposite of what you're talking about. It's because the audience doesn't trust, the writers don't trust the audience. Because up until this point, Jasper is kind of a figure. Jasper Sitwell, we don't know much about him. We know that he's been showing up for S.H.I.E.L.D. a couple of times until now. We've never seen him directly connected to Hydra. We have no reason to think that he is Hydra or that really he's scum. We think he's kind of shady, but we don't know much about him. And you guys can say in a minute if from the comics we should have known something. But we're about to see him being, by every legal definition, tortured. He's going to be kicked off a building to simulate the fact that he thinks he's going to die in order to him be saved in a great way by Sam. And all action movies do this. That's fine. I will point out that all evidence is that it doesn't work, but putting that aside, imagine if we have that really awesome moment of Steve saying, you're right, it's not my style, it's hers. She kicks him off the building. If at that moment we don't know that he's Hydra, if we don't know that he's going to listen to Gary Shandling, I'm sure he has a real name as a senator, but it'll always be Gary Shandling to me, talk about, this incredibly inappropriate sexual relationship he's having with a 23-year-old he has no respect for, and him being like, aha, I think you're going to be just fine, Senator. He does those things and he listens. He basically says, Hail Hydra. Shandling says it, but he goes along with it. Now we're all on board to watch him get tortured. I think that's the only reason why those 2 minutes exist. And I feel that feels to me like really cheap screenwriting.
That's interesting. I think it's actually functioning at a different in a different area, and part of it is because it needs to. I mean, functionally, how they use the characters is. Let's just take that off the table for a second and just say functionally, what the filmmakers want to do is demonstrate that it's not just S.H.I.E.L.D. that has been compromised. And who better to do that than go back to a character from a prior Iron Man movie and connect him through time to the lore. And for that, we're going to go with Senator Gary Shandling Stern. And Stern is a dirtbag. And we know he's a dirtbag. And we have a connection now that we understand that Sitwell exists somewhere between Senator Stern and Pierce. And the cat's sort of out of the bag because we already know that Pierce is Hydra. And
my point is that the characters don't know that. And so we're using it so that we, the audience, can feel justified about something that is actually a lot. What characters are doing is much more morally gray because they don't know what we know.
You're talking about the fact that Natasha and Steve presumably don't know that Sitwell is Hydra.
I mean, they don't say, they just know that he was on the Lumerian star and they're not sure why. And so he could be a good source of information. And I think there's reason to suspect he could be part of all the shenanigans, but they have absolutely no evidence to know that he definitely is.
Yeah, I get that. But I think that you said it, and I think you're absolutely right. Movies do this all the time. This is shorthand, and we as audience are what we're doing kind of without sort of unconsciously, subconsciously, are connecting characters and what they know by what they see and making it okay, rationalizing the what they're doing without them needing to actually demonstrate it to us because shorthand, right? They just are trying to move forward. Now, the degree to which that's okay at the culmination of a set of 15 minutes where we've really been trying to understand the level of moral gray area in which Natasha lives and is indoctrinating Steve, that's an interesting choice. It's as if the last 15 minutes they've learned nothing, but it's present.
Yeah. I think that's kind of my point. Is I think the audience would have a much different reaction if we didn't have those 2 minutes. If we were in the place that the characters are, and I think that would have been a much more honest way to approach it. And I think we might say that in this situation you got to get him to talk. But I just think that would have been much. That's why that feels like bad screenwriting to me, because it feels like you are making it easier for the characters to. You've set up this whole thing that we're going to have all this moral grayness, but now you're adding moral clarity where there shouldn't be, because there isn't for the characters.
I just want to add on Gary Shandling, and it is Senator Stern. We never know what his first name is.
His first name is Senator. It's Senator Stern. Yeah.
Just for those, we love Gary Shandling. This was his fourth to his final movie appearance before his untimely death. The name Senator Stern comes from Howard Stern, which is who the character is named after, and he patterns the character after former U.S. Senator Arlen Specter, very famous in politics.
Yeah,
from the Kennedy assassination to his death as well, and you can Google that.
Yeah.
I just want to say this: a lot of interesting stuff there. So the cool thing, I think that the one of the additional things this plays in for people who are layering their experience at the time this movie comes out. This movie's only 4 years apart from Iron Man 2, is that it helps to realize, oh, Hydra's been in this from way before we knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's simply what Stern is there to show. Yes, you could say that it's there to show that Sitwell's bad, but also this has been rotten for a lot longer, probably since we've been watching everything. So I think that's just the main reason why they're doing this.
I think it's a good scene. I just first of all, I think the whole thing about the intern he's gonna go sleep with just felt
it's gross.
But
I mean,
I think you could
changed.
either had that earlier in the movie, or you could have had Sam listening in some way,
sure,
so that they hear that he's Hydra and you see a reaction.
Gotcha.
It's the way of doing it. Of the characters don't really know that Sitwell is that bad, but the audience gets to find out, so that they don't think badly of the character. That's the part that I just feel is a little like
sure.
And do I hold all Marvel movies to this bar? Of course not. But this movie is trying to say we want to wrestle with these things, and so 90% of the time I think they're doing it really well. But this one scene just stands out for me because it's like, come on, guys, you could have done that better.
Well, I totally get that point. And speaking of cognitive dissonance, I don't have a problem with it. I do like, there's part of it with that I just like that, Sam and Steve and Natasha decide to just go hard. Like, this guy's gonna talk. We already know he's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and we're just gonna have to do what we need to do. And I think, if we go back, I think Steve knows that it's Sitwell is part of the team that is already chasing him when he falls down the elevator, right? Like, it's Sitwell's voice on the on comms. It's Sitwell who's a part of this whole thing. I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that Steve's already pretty hacked at the fact that he was chased out of S.H.I.E.L.D., when he was drummed out of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Sitwell is an avatar for S.H.I.E.L.D. right now, whether he knows he's Hydra or not.
Right.
I think his assumption's probably pretty strong.
Yeah. I mean, I think it, as we talked about a couple episodes ago, I think there is still that question of like, who is in good faith in S.H.I.E.L.D. and is having the wool pulled over their eyes first. So, but yeah, either way.
Right.
But yeah, so I think that's that scene coming there and when we're in this in-depth analysis makes me think like we could have used those 2 minutes better. But I definitely think you're right that like using them for the Fort Meade scene, no, because it is just so perfect.
Yeah.
And as whatever issues I have with it, the beautiful callousness of she kicks him off the building, and he's not like, oh God, how could you do it? They just get into this discussion about, yet another romantic possibility. And we have Steve betray the one great moral flaw that he has, which he has bought into the idea that you can judge someone by their facial jewelry. A lip piercing, I don't think I'm ready for that.
I'm not ready for that. He didn't say he wouldn't ever be ready for it, though. I think he's warming up to it.
That's possible.
Where do you guys? Where do you fall on the Hail Hydra as a meme? Did you ever serve or get served the meme Hail Hydra? This is a big thing.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
In less than 24 hours after Hail Hydra was released, the hashtag Hail Hydra was tweeted over 2,200 times on April 6th. Actor Clark Gregg, who plays Phil Coulson, a big fan of Captain America and several Marvel films, retweeted an example of the meme featuring My Little Pony. On April 7th, MTV published an article titled Hail Hydra is the best meme from Captain America the Winter Soldier, and it went crazy. Anytime you have people whispering, whether it's kids, whether it's President Obama, whether it's, hey, the Pope, a couple of adorable polar bears, they're all hailing Hydra, and I love it. Maybe, I don't know if this is true, but it's still one of the most popular memes from Marvel, from the MCU, since MCU started releasing films. It's a big deal, and thank you to Know Your Meme for this image gallery. They are quite good.
Can I add a funny story about this?
Mm-hmm.
Please.
At the time this movie came out, I think it might have been maybe 6 months after, I had a Pebble smartwatch.
Of course you did.
And of course I did.
Yeah.
And it allowed you to put simple images on it. And I'll never forget, one of the images that was readily available for it was the Hydra logo that you could then put on the watch. And I will never forget going out to, I think it was lunch or something with my little nephews who are huge into this. And I went to one of my nephews, I think it was Nathan, and I show him the watch. I press the button and the logo comes up and I went, Hail Hydra. And he crapped himself. He was like,
yeah.
That's how big a deal it was.
It was a big deal.
Literally, yes.
Yeah, it was a big deal. Okay, now I'm a little bit upset that Kyle's not here, so some of this will have to table for next time. But this is the reveal of Falcon, the Falcon, in this 5 minutes. We only get about a second of it, but it is the reveal, and I feel like we can't wrap up without at least acknowledging what Falcon is and looks like. Were either of you, I think I know Matthew's answer, but were you either of you into, did you know what to expect with Falcon?
Nothing. I had no idea.
I did not.
That's odd, because I will say this was one of the movies that taught me to try and start avoiding trailers, because the scene of him kind of coming back down and landing with his wings out had been in the trailers so many times.
Oh, sure. Well, I just mean more the like, I did not know enough about Sam Wilson and Sam's background and the original Sam in the comics. I just want to say out loud, so it's on the record, that Sam was originally in the comic was a Harlem social worker. And his ability was he had an empathic telepathy over birds And as Kyle instructed us last week, his Red Wing, which in the movies is an autonomous drone, was actually a falcon in the comics. And, but, I say but because that's all weird. But the Stan Lee Gene Colan version of Captain America 117, September 1969, made him the first African-American superhero in mainstream comic books. And again, God, for the record, a cultural touchstone, he was the first Black superhero not to have the word Black as part of his superhero name. We've come a long way, team.
Wow.
A long way.
And I have to say, like, the thing about birds is weird. Like, especially if you say, like, his empathic control of all of them.
Yeah.
This means that, like, taking the Joker theory, he's one bad day away from a Hitchcock movie.
Yeah.
But also, I kind of feel like it. Stan Lee to me is a great example, and Jack Kirby somewhat, but I think Jack Kirby was somewhat better about this. But Stan Lee of someone who genuinely wanted things to be better about sexism and racism and homophobia and all of it, and did his best, and often that was pretty bad, and sometimes it was pretty good. And to me, I just have this wonderful image of him trying to be like, okay, how do we not give him a power that is connected to stereotypical images of Black people in America in the late 1960s? Let's give him control of birds. It is just so out of left field that, like, sure, I love it. It's great. This is
was he trying to make Aquaman and Avian Man have like a little partnership? Like,
I think so. I mean, it's better than Plumbing Man, guy who can, unclog drains. Like, it's just weird. I do like the MCU version updates him in a really interesting way. And when you read up what Marcus and McFeely were doing to ground him as a U.S. Air Force pararescueman, right? The PJs, an elite combat search and rescue unit, their motto was that others may live. That's harrowing, that motto, that others may live. That's the unit that this version, the MCU version of Sam Wilson, is retired from. And the fact that he's pararescue, not a pilot, I feel like that comic to screen translation lands really hard. I think this is I don't think it takes very long to feel like this is the canonical Sam Wilson, that they managed to do this in the film and pull that stuff back into the comic. When you look at the kind of the cycle of comic to film to comic, you look at Sam Wilson, you look at Nick Fury, right? It was highly influential, and I think it is a great character. And we'll let Kyle talk about even more weirdness next week when we get a little bit more of Sam. But
are we not going to talk about Jasper Sitwell's HTC One X Plus cellular phone?
Oh,
that
Rob,
phone that
I'm
was
ashamed.
released in November of 2012, and it's the X Plus model because the X Plus model has the red navigation buttons as opposed to the white buttons of the regular 1X model.
Wow.
Matthew, I know Matthew was missing this.
I'm reading deeper now. I was so bothered by that, by the lack of it, but now that Rob has said that, I feel like I can take a deep breath, move along, find balance in the world again, and return to this topic of Sam Wilson.
Because I don't know that I'm ready for that yet. Was this was what was running on this? Was Android, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think
it was. HTC was all Android at that point. I was thinking back because there was a period in there where I actually had a Windows mobile phone, and it was enormous trash. But this was not it. I was conflating.
As a promotion, because HTC was heavily compensated or compensating for their presence in this movie, they did launch a Shield limited edition of the HTC One M8 version. I don't know if we've talked about that yet.
We have, of course we haven't, Rob. You weren't here.
Well, and I appreciate this also, Rob, because a lot of times a podcast, when they mention things like this, are going to get accused of like product placement and that we're getting paid. So I appreciate you shilling for a company that no longer exists.
I have no skin in this game. I'm just telling you the news. I just report the facts.
Pete, meanwhile, who's constantly bugging me that, make my podcast more monetized, just burned any hope of us getting an IBM or Windows contract anytime soon. But anyway, back to Sam Wilson. I love the appearance of the wings. It was not a surprise to me. My memories of it having been beaten so into the ground that when he says, "I'm not a pilot," I never said I was a pilot. I kind of rolled my eyes a bit. But to me, it works for the character. It makes him we're starting to play now with this idea of what does it mean to have people who are basically superheroes but do not have superpowers. And we've kind of already established through someone like Tony Stark. Like Tony Stark doesn't have superpowers; he just has tech. And so this is to me another person who's using tech to become a superpowered person. And the fact that it's in the military and that's just a normal thing now, because you think, well, wait, but this is supposed to be our kind of like our own world. Our own world doesn't have that technology. To me, it's actually brilliant world building, because the idea that since Iron Man goes public and Tony Stark starts doing the Tony Stark things he's doing, the technology of the MCU is going to advance at a much faster rate than of our own world. And the idea that the military, who Stark has had a sometimes partnership with, would as well as the fact that, these movies are all now getting sponsored by the U.S. military and thus being asked to do nice things in the military, and that's a whole other ethics question. But the fact that in this world, the military has more advanced tech that is about individuals having kind of superpower type things, that's an incredibly Tony Stark idea. Of course he was involved in creating this in some way. And to me, it feels like brilliant world building of saying we're just going to assume that, the U.S. Army has these kind of things, because of course they do.
Of course they do. Yeah. Yeah, the technology bleeds and it feels so of the world, of the universe. But because we've watched Steve Rogers and Natasha Romanoff in their civvies for the last 20 minutes, you forget what world we're in when, Sitwell is holding up his HTC One +1 running running Android Jelly Bean. We lose track of the fact that this is still a Stark influenced universe until he shows up on that rooftop, and I think that's really classy.
Yeah, very much so.
Were you guys on board with the Anthony Mackie train before this movie?
I think this was the first time I saw him. But if you remind me what he was in, I might have been like, oh yeah,
Well, let's see. This was, he was in a lot of stuff before Winter Soldier. He's, let's see, Fifth Estate, Pain and Gain, Gangster Squad, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, probably high on your list. Real Steel. He was in Real Steel, The Adjustment Bureau with Matt Damon. He has been actively working since 2002. So to see him in this movie, it was not a surprise. And yet he wanted to be in this movie badly, and apparently wrote Kevin Feige emails, or wrote Marvel emails saying, I just want to be in this movie. I'll play anyone black in the movie. Any superhero that is black, and apparently wanted to play Black Panther. I think he got the right call. He got the right part.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I will say I don't think I remembered him. The only one of those things you mentioned was Vampire Hunter, which I don't remember him in, but mostly I remember the wonderful discussions I had about that movie afterwards, where we discussed did it do more damage to American history or to vampire lore? The movie attacked both with utter disregard for both, but that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, right.
Vampires don't sparkle,
and that's it. That's the end, right? That's the end of our minute, and it ends hard. It ends hard. We don't even see him land. I don't think he just flies up and drops Sitwell, and it is grand. And now we're off to our next minutes, and I think we're off to the races at this point. I think it's action all the way down. No more of this namby-pamby talking stuff.
Well, we're going to get some talking among the action, but I will just jump in with, because you made an offhand comment to this. I know people were discussing it in our Discord, which, by the way, join our Discord, truestory.com. You'll find all the information there. There's this discussion of is it a problem that the movie is named The Winter Soldier as the tagline, and the character's basically barely been in it? And I think one of the great things about the movie Alien is that Alien is barely in it. One of the great things that makes Jaws a great movie is that they spend an awful lot more time talking about Jaws than they do seeing Jaws. And
Yes.
I think the Winter Soldier, it gets that. He is so rarely on screen, but he's so often just off the edge. Like they're talking about him constantly and he's looming over it. And I think it would have been a much worse movie if we were seeing a lot of him.
Yeah, if there's a Bechdel test for the Winter Soldier, this movie fails. Everybody in this movie fails.
Yeah. I'm Matthew Fox. I've been joined by these two wonderful people, and we've gotten to talk about the Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Rob, where can people find more of your stuff?
Hey, they can find there's actually a new AI-generated museum exhibit of my life at robcabasco.com. That's where they can find me.
And you can find me at itsmepete.com. That's my personal site, but you can find my writings there, especially my books. And my first novella dropped last month, and my next book's coming out, looks like July 4th. I'm very excited for that. And so I appreciate everybody giving, if you remember how to read, I would love it if you'd read some of me. Itsmepete.com.
Definitely check those out. Check out Rob's website. Check out all the awesome things that are happening at True Story FM. I, of course, am The Ethical Panda. You can find all that stuff at theethicalpanda.com. And so on behalf of myself, Rob, and Pete, thank you all so much for listening. Kiss someone with a lip piercing. It's really not that different.